Blog Radio.
Good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Good evening, my fellow Patriots. Yes, it is Friday, October 25th, the end of a long work week. Actually, it's been a really good week here at the Midnight Patriot. We've had 3 outstanding guests this weekend. Started with actually four outstanding guests this weekend. It started with Major Pandemic earlier in the week, where we talked about everything AR-15, AR-15s, I should say. That was a great show. Then it was followed up with author Jake Danishevsky, author of Aftertaste and Tales from Russia. Then we had a surprise guest for those, Stone Anthony, presidential candidate 2016. So actually we had a marathon conversation. For those that didn't listen, I highly recommend that you go listen to that broadcast. Real American wanting to affect real change in the next presidential election cycle. Then yesterday we had Prepper Recon on the show. We talked about the downgrading of the of America's debt, and then of course Prepper gave us some the tip of the week, which was baking soda. So if you want to know about baking soda and stuff, go out to those shows. Go to www.themidnightpatriot.com. All of the shows that we air here, fully sourced, so you'll be able to go out there, see our sources and everything, but also get the information, listen to the shows, and such. If you would like to join the conversation tonight, it's Friday. It's kind of a free form. We kind of wrap things up, tighten some news articles up that we started throughout the week, finish some of the articles that we started on during the week, and then close the show out and head into the weekends with our families and such. So tonight's a free form kind of night. If you'd like to join us, you can always go out to the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com. You can give us a call at 262-997-0607. That's 262-997-0607 to talk to us. Or, of course, you can Skype us at The Midnight Patriot. Our Skype name is The Midnight Patriot. Join us. Join in the conversation. We'd love to have you. So with that, for those that are new, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you. I could not imagine the growth that the Patriot, the Midnight Patriot show has done in a relatively short time, 2 weeks. We started the broadcast about 2 weeks ago. We're in our third week, but roughly, the first week was kind of rough, kind of working out the kinks. And so we've been at this. This is episode number 15. So we're actually in our third week. But it's just amazing. We started out with 1 or 2 listeners. Through all of the different medias where we get, each show roughly gets, close to 100 live listeners every show. So we're increasing our listeners basically by 10 to 15 a night. And then we get about 1,000 downloads between iTunes. We are on iTunes. Between all of the various clouds, podcast clouds that we rebroadcast on. So, it's not bad. Not bad. And I owe that to you. To you, the listener. To you guys. But we can do so much more. We would like to, for those that don't know that are joining us, we are actually in the minor league. We're in the bullpen, getting ready to get into the game. And the only way that we can do that with iHeartRadio is that, we have to increase our listenership. They haven't told us the number yet and everything, but we are in their bullpen with our relation and affiliation with Spreaker. Spreaker is the company that refeeds us and gives you such high quality 128K audio, so you're able to listen to my mistakes in stereo. That's what we joke about here, but no. And so in order to do that, there's 2 things that we ask of our listeners. If you're listening to the show tonight, or if you're downloading and you're listening, take the time to post our show. You can download it, you can post it, you can do it. It's you can do anything with our show that you want. Anything. All the music is licensed or actually provided to us by Madison Rising. So you don't have to worry about any copyright issues with YouTube or any such thing like that, or takedown orders or anything. MadisonRising.com. Go to their web. Great bunch of guys, very patriotic. Their whole genre of music is all about patriotism. And they've given us permission to use their music. They are the official music provider for the Midnight Patriot. So, and hopefully we'll get them on the air here next week. They're traveling and won't be back home, so they can sit down and do an interview with us until next week. So, feel free. You can download the music. You can spread the word. Help us grow this show. Tell your friends about us. Like us on Facebook. Link us. Do whatever, help us grow this show. Because as we get to a point, we made the commitment and we are, growing this, iHeartRadio will pick us up. And for those that don't know, iHeartRadio exposes us to about 180 million potential listeners. Those are patriots just waiting to be grown. And that's how we're going to affect change in this country. Is that, we are a very vocal group, but we are a very small group in the scheme of things. And so we need your help so that we can reach those who need to get this message and that need to be awoken. That's one way you can support us. Just get the word out. The other way you can support us is that we are putting in the ad servers this weekend. I know we've gone corporate. No, we haven't gone corporate. Trust me. We in our charter, when I started this, when Sandy and I were sitting at the table and we discussed starting this show, the one thing, the commitment I made to her and the commitment that I make to you is that this is it. It's a one-man show or one-person show. We might add a producer to help screen calls eventually, help me with the board work. But we don't want to have a huge overhead. We don't want to have a huge budget. And the reason why is because we don't want to be beholden to the advertisers. So, you got my promise that, we obviously we have expenses. We're putting in about a $2,000 digital hybrid phone system, which will allow us to have 12 simultaneous calls. Because when we reach the markets that we're talking about reaching, we want to have, currently I spend 2 to 3 hours talking. We would like to bring you into the conversation, have you be the show. I've always said this. I am just the tracks. Your voice is the train. So I'm just here to kind of guide the conversation, but I want to hear from you, America, you, my fellow patriots. So we have to, we have to add technology. That's expensive. It's $2,000 just for the equipment. Then you're looking at the phone lines. Now, we can't do Vonage or anything like that because these systems don't work on those types of systems. So we actually have to bring in the good old hard landlines, which are going to run about $30 a month after you pay all the taxes. And that's a monthly fee. So the only way that we can do that is that, obviously we need help. So if you're a small business owner, or if you know of a small business owner who would like to help us promote the show, we have advertisement options. It's very plain, very simple. Keep it simple. Don't want to get too complicated. But currently what we're doing is that we're offering advertising for the first 1,000 listeners live. So, for 1,000 listeners or below, or, live listeners, your advertising is going to be $5 a month. That it gets you on the web. That will also get you a professionally produced 30-second spot on the podcast. If you pay $10 a month, you'll get a 1-minute spot on the podcast. And that's for the first 1,000 listeners. So that price will never change until we exceed 1,000 live listeners. Now, we have tracking, and I can go into detail. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me. My email address is jeff@themidnightpatriot.com. We are putting in those servers, those tracking servers, and all the servers. It's the same software for the podcast that radio studios use, radio stations use to track those engagements, as they call them, learning all the technical terms. So that's the way that you can also help support us. And I do have one more way you can support us. Get involved. Get involved. If you hear a topic that we're talking about and you want to say something, call us. Call us. If you can't call us, if you're listening during the day, downloading because of iTunes, send me a message through Facebook or send me a message through the Contact Us link. The best way to reach me currently is through the Facebook. We don't have a chat server up and running yet. We will get one. But the best way to reach me is through Facebook at this time. I answer every Facebook message I get. I make sure that happens. But that's how, get involved. Be a part of the conversation and everything. So enough of that, That's the shameless plug. Just wanted to kind of let you guys know what we're doing and everything. So in the next hour, this is, unless it carries into the third hour, it's usually a 2-hour show on Fridays and stuff. People got things to do, got to get out, got to meet your friends and stuff and everything. But on tonight's show, obviously, I had an opportunity after last night's show. I had an opportunity to sit down and actually watch the hearings about Obamacare with the 4 different companies that have put this doombuckle together. So what we're going to do is we're obviously going to do our tribute to the fallen here in a second. After the tribute, after the break, when we come back, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the things that in my research today and over the past week I've uncovered. We're going to expand on our conversation that we had last night about President Obama and his ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, have some information there to include, and then also to finish up the conversation that we had last night about why Islam or Muslims seem to hate us. A lot of people would think it's pretty obvious, but it's actually deeper than what the mainstream media is portraying. Then we'll finish up the evening probably on some of the things, the attacks that are going on in against Christians by this government, by this administration, and some of the blowback that's coming off of that. And then we'll just kind of wrap up the night, take calls throughout the night, talk to you, join in the conversation. But first, we do a segment here for those that don't know, because we got a lot of new listeners. We do a segment, to honor the fallen, those men and women who have put on this nation's uniform and have paid the ultimate price and the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. Now, I have to tell you this. This is one of the most popular segments that we do, but it's also one of the most controversial. I get a lot of feedback from it, I should say. And let me tell you this. I don't care what your beliefs are or why we are at war. Your political orientations, all of that. What we're trying to do is honor those men and women and their families and let their families know that we care. When a young man or woman puts on this nation's uniform and goes off and follows orders and goes off to war and unfortunately pays the ultimate price. I don't care what your beliefs are about the war, the politics or policies are. We will always honor here at the Midnight Patriot those men and women. And for those people that don't like that or think that we're kowtowing to the military establishment, I'll tell you this. I don't need you to be listening to my show. I really don't. Find somewhere else to go. There's plenty of other people that will cater to your to your need. I'll just stop there before I get angry. But I will tell you this. I did get a couple emails today, and all I've got to say to you that sent those emails, stop listening to my show, because I will always respect and honor those who put on our nation's uniform. And that also includes our law enforcement and the EMTs and the paramedics. Not all law enforcement, EMTs, and paramedics are out to get you. Actually, with my interactions with those individuals on a personal level, I ask them straight up, would you defend my constitutional right for keep and bear arms? And I will tell you, almost every one of them said yes, without a doubt. The ones that paused and thought about it, I don't talk to them anymore. Just move on. Know thy enemy, right? So enough of that. Let's move on. But just want to let people know. Don't like it, you don't have to listen. It is still a free country. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Christopher O. Grant, Army Sergeant Lyle D. Turnbull, Army Staff Sergeant Patrick H. Quinn, Army Sergeant Patrick C. Hawkins, Army Captain Jennifer M. Marino, Army Private First Class Cody J. Patterson. Army Sergeant Joseph M. Peters, Lance Corporal Jeremiah M. Collins, Jr., Army Specialist Angel L. Lopez, if you're a soldier or a family member of a soldier, current, active, or retired, and you need help, you can always contact the Midnight Patriot. Shoot me an email, give us a call. Email is jeff@themidnightpatriot.com, and we will make sure that we find you the help that you need and your family needs to get you through the difficult times. If your son or daughter, husband, wife, brother, sister has paid the ultimate price in defending this country, and you need help, whatever help it may be, contact me, jeff@themidnightpatriot.com. We will put you in touch. If we can't help you directly, we will find you the help that you need. I will tell you, about 80% of my listeners, people that I interact with, are military. We also have contact with the Wounded Warriors, and we will make sure that you get the services and the help that you need. we must move on. They would want us to. So that music was actually provided by Madison Rising, MadisonRising.com. Go out there. We ask that you go out and listen to their music, download their CDs or purchase their CDs, support what they're doing. Very interesting story. We're going to have them on the air eventually. I think next week is what we're trying to shoot for between their schedules and stuff. And, I'll let you tell this. I'll let them tell you their story. It's very, very, very interesting and everything. So we're going to take a break. When we get back, like I said, we're going to break down the testimony that went on the House Commerce Committee the other day. Had an opportunity to listen to it, and I can tell you, we're just not being leveled with America. And so we'll take a small break here, and when we get back, like I said, we'll kind of break that down for you. We'll kind of continue our conversation that we had about President Obama's affiliations with the Muslim Brotherhood. We'll talk about Islam and why they have such a hatred for the West, and it's not what you actually think it is or what I actually thought it was. It's kind of opened my eyes up. We also have some other information, that we're going to uncover here at the Midnight Patriot, and then we'll just take your calls and kind of go through the night. So you're listening to the Midnight Patriot. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us here every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, guaranteed to 11 and sometimes into the wee hours of midnight. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
We were told nothing could be done to enjoy these final moments together.
But in that moment, when all seemed lost,
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us hope.
Because at this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care. We're changing the way the world treats childhood cancer by sharing our discoveries with doctors and scientists everywhere.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and join St. Jude in finding cures and saving children. Visit stjude.org.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
You are listening to the Midnight Patriot podcast and radio show. I am your host, Jeff Norton. We meet here, we convene here every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central Time to 11, sometimes into the wee hours of midnight. And if you're talking to Stone Anthony, sometimes it goes way past the wee hours of midnight. I'll let you know that interview that I had with Stone was incredible. I mean, it was. I mean, all the interviews we have. I don't want to take away and stuff, but I'll tell you, we spoke for 3 hours on the air, and then we had another conversation about another hour and a half off the air right after that show. It was just insane. You know, just a great conversation, and you know. You can go out to his web and everything, get more information about him. What he's asking for, you know, we typically don't want to get into endorsing political candidates here and everything. But I'll tell you, you know, I came away with a sense of this is a guy who I can relate to. This is a guy, you know, look at his positions. A matter of fact, very blunt, doesn't have a problem telling you what's up. And stuff. Go look to his positions. Now, regardless, you know, we got to get him into the fight. And he needs about 800,000, almost 900,000 signatures in order to just get him into the fight for presidency, you know, for the elections. So go out to his website, take a look at it. You know, all of our guests, support them. Prepper Recon, Jake Danishevsky with his book. You know, name of his title of his book, you can get it on Google, Amazon, is Aftertaste and Tales from Russia. PrepperRecon.com, obviously, major pandemic. You know, go out to their sites. You know, all distinguished authors and broadcasters in their own right, writers and stuff. And I'll tell you, you know, I actually have the hard copy of Jake's book. I started reading it on Kindle, didn't like it. I've just come to the conclusion I'm scrapping this green studio concept. I'm going back to paper. I'm buying the ink for the printer, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to kill some trees and put some lumbermen and some paper mills back to work. So we're going to go back to the paper thing. But you know, I got Jake's book, and it's just a great read. It really is, really is. You know, all the books that I get from fellow patriots and authors is just outstanding material. It's a lot better than some of the tripe that's out there right now. And it's great, you know, that we're getting these books from, how do you say, from real people, not media personalities. I mean, I've read the Sean Hannity books, the Ann Coulter books, and, you know, I got something to tell you about Ann Coulter. I'll blow your mind today, for those that don't know. Kind of tease you with that one. You know, I've read those, you know, the Levin, you know, his books and stuff, but it's refreshing to read books from Americans, from people, you know, everyday Americans that, you know, their living doesn't depend upon how many books they sell. They write books because they care and they want to share their experiences with you and stuff. And these books are just incredible. So Jake, thanks. I know Prepper Recon's shooting me one of his books. I look forward to it. So, but with that, you know, we're all about the conversation. It's Friday night. We're going to wrap some things up, tie up some loose ends, go into the weekends with our families and organizations, and spend time. You know, the most important time is with your friends and family and your church. So with that, but if you'd like to join in the conversation, you can always join in here. We're open all the time. So you can give us a call at go to www.themidnightpatriot.com. You can download the apps for your iPhones and your Android devices, so you can listen on those as well. But more importantly, you can give us a call. Our number is 262-997-0607, 262-997-0607. Our Skype is The Midnight Patriot. That's our Skype name, The Midnight Patriot. So you can join us on Skype. And also you can link to us through Facebook and send us messages that way as well. We do answer every message that we get. Every message that we get, we do answer it. So, as I said before we took the break, and, you know, for some reason, I don't know what it is. That transition is the hardest for me. And I know what it is. You know, I'm not too bashful to tell you. I get choked up when I read the names of those soldiers. And it takes me a little bit to recover and stuff. But I always have a hard time transitioning out of that segment into this segment and stuff. So, but it is what it is. All right. Let's get to business. Matter at hand. I was listening after last night's show. I had the opportunity to turn on C-SPAN, and I was able to listen to the full testimony of the various contractors that basically screwed the pooch on this one. You know, let's just call it what it is. Let's just be blunt. Let's be a little risque here at the Midnight Patriot. I mean, this website is just a disaster. Just a disaster. And in rare form, as they were sitting there, as the four various representatives of the companies, the four major companies that are part of this, were giving their testimony. I mean, it was a standard fare. You know, this is what we did. This is what we're doing. We're working hard on it, and you know, blah blah. I'm here to answer your questions, right? And one thing that struck me about the whole hearing is, you know, obviously you can imagine you had, you know, divisions amongst party lines. You know, I'm not going to tell you what party it was. You can figure it out on your own. But you basically had one party who was, you know, wanting to know what the heck went wrong. Why did Obamacare blow up? You know, why were these companies paid the amount of money that they were paid? The number for the website was about $339 million for this website. Doesn't work. So $339 million for a product that doesn't work. So people obviously want to know that. There was others, you know, that were, you know, calling it a monkey trial and, you know, and everything. But the amazing thing is that I saw this. The government has basically told businesses that they don't have to participate. Their mandate to participate or provide health care coverage has been extended for 1 year. But they told the people that they have to participate. They have to be signed up by December 15th if they want to make the January 1 cutover. The problem is this, and this is the part that really kind of got me about part of the committee that was like, oh, you know, it's no big deal. The thing is that we're mandated. If you want health care coverage in the United States, you either got to get it from your employer or you have to get it on the exchange. Or you get a tax penalty. It's a penalty. And you have no health care. The problem is that because they allowed the businesses to skate on the mandate, what you're seeing is that you are seeing businesses dropping coverage for people. You are seeing, you know, more and more businesses who are thinking of the bottom line, and they're dropping health care coverage for their people. And those people turn to this government-imposed healthcare, online healthcare system, and they can't register. They can't get enrolled. They can't see the cost savings. Now, what they can see, I know this because I actually watched an individual today. They registered through the exchange and they videotaped it. And I was watching. What I did see is a massive collection of data. You know, one thing that I didn't know, and maybe this is my fault for not knowing this, but all of your information is sent to Equifax. Now, I knew that they were going to look at your information, but, you know, I thought that they were doing it through the IRS. You know, the IRS has your tax return, so they know how much you make. They know where you've worked. They know all those questions. But that's not the case. All of your information is being sent to a third party called Equifax. And Equifax, I don't know, is a credit reporting agency. So they're providing that information. So you can't tell me that they're not storing that somewhere in a log or somewhere. You just can't tell me that. I just find it hard to believe. Because, you know, they did admit that they have logs. Finally, that came out in the testimony a little bit later. So somewhere, your information is being stored somewhere, right? But what was more concerning is that, you know, they had you register, give your email, give your phone number, give your address, give your social security number, answer questions about where you worked in the past or where you did. I mean, I watched the video. And then when you went through all of that data gathering, because a lot of people that did all that were like, well, I'm gonna be able to look at the different plans. Oh no. None of the plans were shown. That system's down. Doesn't work. Still not working. So I got to believe with some of the media reports out there that this is nothing but a data gathering tool. And even in the testimony yesterday that was given, you know, they stated that the one of the reasons why the issues, one of the reasons why they had the issues that we had was because of the government's last minute requirement to gather that information up front. Originally, the system was designed to allow you to go to the system, pick your state, and then see what your policy would be, cost of your policy, the cost of your policy. But now they switched at the last minute, where now you got to go and register, give them all your information. Now they've got it in a database. And Lord knows, well, Lord doesn't know. I can pretty much guarantee you what's going to happen. I will bet you, mark it on your calendars, Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot, Friday, October 25th. I promise you, you will get, if you went to this exchange and you signed up, you will probably get something in the mail here in the next couple of days from CMS. Which means that they share, you know, they obviously have your information and they're going to now send you their promotional material. Now, there's been reports that not only when you signed up, and I didn't see this with it, so maybe it was taken down and maybe it was part of a state registry system, because you got to remember, the states were given the option of building their own. And most of the stories that you're hearing about the states or about people registering are those that have state-controlled websites. So the states outside of the federal procurement process and the development process, they develop their own. And that's where you're seeing most of the success stories where people are signing up. But the federal system, I can tell you, based upon the video that was done today, that system is still not operational. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. But they gather that information. So mark my words, you will be getting, if you register, you will either be getting email or you'll be getting mail, snail mail. Because now you're in their system. They got you. They got you. So now they're going to pepper you. Don't be surprised if you get a knock on the door with one of these, kind of like the Census Bureau. You know, oh, we saw that you registered on the site. You didn't complete your site. What, you know, can we help you? Oh, and by the way, Did you register to vote? Yeah. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. So that was very concerning. The fact that, at the last minute they changed the requirements. And you got to remember, the government, as dysfunctional as you think the government is, they're not naive. I'm a firm believer that they're marching us to a slow death, to a control takeover. They're going to gather this information. They're going to use it. They're going to manipulate it. They're going to do things with it that's going to make what Nazi Germany and IBM did. Study history. Yeah, for those that don't know, let me give you a little information. IBM was the company, the data company, who was in charge for the Nazi Party, Hitler, to build data systems, to aggregate data all from the Jews, names, addresses of the Jews, to mental health, to healthcare. Remember, you got to remember, Hitler promised healthcare for all as well. Yeah. As did Stalin. If you listen to our interview with Jake Danish Vesky earlier this week, talks about his experience with Soviet Russia communist healthcare. How he was born healthy and within days became sick under the watchful eye of the health ministry there in Soviet Russia. And then he goes on to say how there was basically a black market of healthcare that was created, and how we're starting to see that now here in the United States. That there's some doctors and some hospitals in Florida that's been reported, and I'm sure they're in other states, not just Florida, that if you want to see a doctor or a specialist, you actually have to pay for the procedure up front, regardless of who your healthcare provider is. Yeah. So you're already starting to see a black market of healthcare in the United States. It's already starting, right? So it's a whole nother topic. So let's go back to the hearing. So you heard that the government at the last minute changed the thing. Change it. And like I say to you earlier, that was out of design. There's a purpose behind that. I've always said this, as dysfunctional as you think this government is, they're methodical in their process. I know it's a contradiction of terms. It's an oxymoronic statement. But the reality of it is that there is an agenda here. We don't know what it is. We have our suspicions. President Obama made it perfectly clear during his campaign as a senator as well that he was for a one-payer system. So you got to ask yourself, is this all to screw up healthcare so bad that there's only one solution, and that's for the government to come and fix? Problem, cause, solution. The government's excellent at that. They create a problem. They blame the cause on something else, and then they come in and they fix it. And usually when the government fixes it, it means that the noose around our necks as citizens get tighter and tighter. So, you got to ask yourself, is this thing so screwed up that the only fix that they're going to do is they can't undo it? Because you got so many Americans right now. I mean, the number of Americans that are, they're increasing by millions a day that are going into work and finding out they don't have health care insurance. Why wouldn't a business? If you think about it, business is to make money. Really, that's what they're there to do, is make money for their shareholders, the owners. They offered health care insurance was a benefit. See, a lot of people don't realize, they think health care is a right. But in the labor markets, healthcare was actually a benefit. When salaries were the same amongst industry, so if you had an auto worker and for Ford, an auto worker for GM, their salaries were established, were already set. So they make 11. I'm just throwing these numbers out there. So I know it's much more, so don't call me. I know what some of the auto workers are making. But we'll just, keep the number simple, $10 an hour. What they did is that these businesses realized that if they offer other benefits other than just a salary, they can extract people. See, and the thing is about benefits aren't paid up front, they're paid in the back end. So businesses can offer you something and not really have to deliver on it. Now, in the case of insurance, what they can do is offer you insurance knowing that most Americans won't use it. Insurance companies figure that's how insurance companies make money. They have actuary tables. And they figure it out. They hire the brightest, smartest mathematicians in the world. And they figure this stuff out. So businesses figure that out too. So they can go to an individual that they want to hire and they say, look, we're going to give you health care. Now that, sounds good. And that's where healthcare, to the employee came from. It was a benefit from the businesses. Now, with Obamacare, they've taken that leverage away from the businesses. So now businesses don't, can't use it as a so they can just, they just say, all right, fine, join the exchange. It's an expense anyways. Healthcare is like one of the number one expenses. It's grown into one of the top expenses in any HR department. So, of course, from a bottom line business standpoint, they're going to get rid of it. Now, that brings up another topic, and I'm going to come back to that because I need to address that. But, let's talk about the hearings. Let's stay on topic with the hearings, and I'll come back to the other things that are happening that a lot of people didn't, unintended consequences of Obamacare. So you had these three companies there in front of the House. And one of the thing that struck me even more so than the fact that Equifax never agreed to allow them to have my credit information, for the government for that matter either. I figured the government already had it because you have to file tax returns, right? But no, it's Equifax, for those that don't know. But one of the things that really struck me, and it didn't come about until towards the end of the hearings, they actually tested. Now, each one of these companies had their own systems that they were responsible for building. A week prior to when the system was supposed to go live, they then turned all the systems on each other. In other words, they hooked them all into each other a week before the system was supposed to go live to test it. With 200 users, 200. My site gets 200 users an hour. 200 users. They crashed the servers. They knew this a week going into it. Crashed the servers. Now, of course, everybody's asking, well, did you not, the CMS, did you not tell them? They told them. They told them. CMS was there. They saw it. Out of that, of course, there were 200 users. 200 users. CMS, it crashed. CMS knew about it. They asked who at CMS was told. Senators. All four of these members that were on the panel representing their companies would not divulge that information. They wouldn't. And it's not like we're not going to find out, right? But they wouldn't do it. And then they kept on citing, when they were asked for logs and all of this stuff, they kept on, they were told on multiple occasions, the Senate, the congressman during this commerce hearing, were told that they have to get clearance from CMS before they can provide this information. Now, wait a minute. How backwards is that? It's the Commerce Commission that funded, that argued, that appropriated the funds to pay for this project. And so, in essence, that's like me going to the bank. This is how backwards and dysfunctional this government is. It's like me going to the bank, saying, "Bank, I need to build a building." So the bank gives me money. Here, Jeff. Here's the money to build your building. And I tell them in 6 months, I'll have a building there for you, bank. So the bank's, okay, fine. Here's your money. So they go out to the land, the bank does, and they see a shack. A shack. Sitting in the middle of the property. Looks nothing like the building that I showed the bank and that we discussed, that we argued about, and I got the money for. They see a shack. So the bank, rightfully so, says, hey, Jeff, can you kind of come down here and talk to us for a little bit? I'm like, yeah, sure. Not a problem. I show up to the bank in my Mercedes. I fly. I'm in my island retreat in Hawaii or whatever. So I fly over my corporate jet, and I show up in the bank in my Rolls Royce. And the bank goes, hey, Jeff, we went out and saw the land. We went out and saw the building. We're expecting to have a big grand opening and everything, and we all show up, and there's a shack sitting in the middle of the field. And I look at him and I go, hey, isn't that wonderful? It's the best shack in the world. It's the greatest shack in the world. And then they reply, well, but we didn't agree to a shack. You're supposed to build a building. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Don't worry about it. And they go, what'd you do with the money? Oh, you know what? I really need to get with my with my contractor. I'm under, I gotta get with my contractor. And the bank goes, well, call them, get them in here. Oh, well, they're not available. How long do you think in business world, does that last? I can pretty much guarantee you do that once as a private citizen, and you're probably going to be sitting in jail for fraud. Because the banks aren't going to put up with it. So my question is this. Why is our Congress, they sit up there and they can say whatever they want to. They can do that, they can do the kabuki theater that they do so well. These guys are awesome at it. They can do the kabuki theater all they want to. My question is this. If they're truly out for the interests of the American people, if I was on that panel, I would tell those 4 members and the sergeant at arms that are outside the doors, they're not leaving that room. Or if they do leave the room, they're going to leave in handcuffs. Because someone stole $339 million from the American taxpayer. And for them to sit there and say, well, we can't give you the answers. They know the answers. Trust me. They know the answer. They didn't say they didn't know. They said that they're not going to give, they have to, wait until CMS tells you that. Really? You're going to tell the body that gave you the money to begin with that they're going to have to wait until another government agency tells you, gives them permission? And, the part, I don't know if you guys heard this. But this is what we're dealing with in America. You need to be aware of this. This was actually reported yesterday.
Sebelius responding to calls for her resignation. Her answer may want her to have a do-over. She says she doesn't work for you.
Who have you fired? No one has been fired. My goal is to actually get the website up and running.
Madam Secretary, what is your response to people who are calling for you to resign?
Well, the majority of people calling for me to resign, I would say, are people who I don't work for and who do not want this program to work in the first place. I have had frequent conversations with the President, and I've committed to him that my role is to get the program up and running, and we will do just that.
She doesn't owe you, the American people, an answer because she doesn't work for you. She doesn't work for you. Really? Last time I checked, I don't know. Let's do the math. Somewhere hidden away in the money that they extract from us American people unwillingly. It's not like we give them our money willingly. They take it out of your paycheck before you can even have access to it. If they waited for you to pay them, they would never get paid. They know that. So the money that they've taken out of our paychecks, last time I checked, I think her salary, now I know she makes money from kickbacks and stuff with corporations, and of course I'm sure she's got a sweetheart deal lined up, doing some kind of lobbying when she's done and stuff. But right now her current paycheck that she receives is by the American people. And isn't the American people who elect officials who sit on the committee who ask the question of where the money went? And unfortunately, she wasn't there to testimony. Who knows? She's going to give testimony next week if she's going to show up. I doubt that will. We'll see. We'll see. It'll be something to talk about next week. So here you go. You had the four individuals saying that they do have the information, but they're not going to provide it because they have to see what the CMS says. And you just heard the director of the CMS, I don't work for you. That's exactly what she told you, America. She doesn't work for us. So who does she work for? Well, it's obvious. And it goes right to the conversation I had with Jake. And it goes to the conversation I had with you last night as we were talking through this. When you have a leader who feels that they are, that they are the savior of the country, they tend to hire people and put people around them. You heard what she said. I talked to the president. That's who she, in her mind, feels that she reports to. Really. And that goes to, that's the mindset. These not politicians, but these individuals who are hired by the people that are elected, for some reason in their psychosis, they believe that they don't work for the American people anymore. They don't have loyalties to the American people anymore. I mean, let's just kind of go into this a little bit more. This ought to send a little bit of chills up your spine. This is the new Homeland Security Minister, Ja Johnson. This is what he said at the Rose Garden as he was being introduced as our new Homeland Security Minister.
I love this country. I care about the safety of our people. I believe in public service, and I remain loyal to you, Mr. President.
I remain loyal to you, Mr. President. I love this country. I care about its people. That's noble. But I'm loyal to you, Mr. President. Do you see something wrong with that? I do. If I was in his position, I would say, I love this country. And I am loyal to the Constitution in which I take oath, Mr. President. That's what a patriot would say. Can you not see that he's surrounding himself with individuals who are not loyal to the Constitution or to the people in which make up this great republic, but he's loyal to the leader, the king, comrade. And we talked about that. We talked about that yesterday. You know, the feverish attack on Christianity. And I know a lot of people talked about the Muslim, you know, the fact he's a Muslim and all this stuff. And, you know, I don't have I can't support that argument yet. It's coming out. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I can support the fact that President Obama associates himself with Maoists, socialists, and communists. He has surrounded himself and he has been mentored by those individuals. That I can support and that I can defend in any debate. And now you listen to the speech in which these appointed leaders that he's appointed and he's brought in, and you listen to what they're telling you, America. They have no loyalty to us. They don't have to answer to us, the American people. They have to answer to the President of the United States. And some of that is true, but they have to answer to the American people. They're there because the American people feel that they need to be there, and the president through the president we voice our opinion. But apparently that's been thrown out the window. That's been completely thrown out the window. That's shocking. I don't know about you. That's shocking. So with the revelation that yesterday, it came out of the hearings, the two parts that I saw that were just revealing as heck, was the fact that these companies have the answers. These companies know what's wrong, but they're not willing to share it with our elected officials or the American people. Then you have the individual who's in charge of CMS telling you that she doesn't report to us. She doesn't, she don't care. The other part is the fact that your information is now being shared with a credit rating agency, Equifax. It's kind of scary stuff. The other thing that they wanted to address, and I'm just going to throw this out there too. This is one thing I don't understand. If I am a congressperson or a person that's supposed to be highly educated, I would think that I would educate myself so that when I'm asking a question, that I don't look like a complete buffoon. Now, our Miss Blackburn, Congressman Blackburn of Tennessee, my home state, it was embarrassing. Because the problem is that she lost all credibility when she started talking about HIPAA law. And I have to agree with the Dems on this one. They said, well, the site doesn't share healthcare information, so there's no HIPAA law violation. And the Republicans were jumping on that. And I was embarrassed for them. I really was. Because they go in there, it just tells you the soundbite mentality, even of our leaders. They didn't take the time to educate themselves on the true problem with the privacy problems. There is no, and I have to agree with this, there is no health care information being provided under the Affordable Care Act. There isn't. Under when you sign up on their website. I didn't see it. But what there is being provided is your personal information. So there's another law. And actually this law has more teeth in it than the HIPAA law. I don't know if a lot of people, you guys know this. The HIPAA law is actually regulated by CMS. It has no teeth, though. There is no HIPAA police. There isn't. There's no HIPAA police that show up at a doctor's office and say, you violated a patient's privacy and thus you need to do it. There is none. There's none. There's none. There's no one to enforce that law. Now, you can bring private suit, but I can bring private suit for anything, right? If a doctor divulged my information, I could have sued them anyways without the HIPAA law. But there is one law, and there's one law that has teeth, and it's regulated by the FEC. or the Federal Commerce, FCC, not communication, but it's regulated by the Federal Commerce. Actually, the commission that was sitting there that was asking all the questions, which is even more embarrassing. That they don't even know their own laws. It's called PCI compliance. Every company that gathers your information via the website has to be PCI compliant, and especially if you're transmitting Social Security or private information. Not HIPAA, PCI. And if you violate that PCI, you know, I don't know if you guys know this, but or have you ever gotten a letter? But when your credit card is you sign up for a website or a site, I had it happen to me. Adobe. We use Adobe to edit our sound files. I went to my bank, or actually I went to get gas in my car about 2 weeks ago, and my card was no good. Well, you know, thought it was an anomaly. So I went to go get lunch. My card was no, in the reader. So I didn't need the gas. So I continued on. Went to go get lunch, and my card was no good. Called my bank. Asked them what happened. They said, your card has been deactivated because of fraudulent transactions. Oh, thank you. Thank you, bank. When were you going to tell me this? Right? So I had to go to the bank and get a new card, do all that stuff. I had to withdraw. They allowed me to withdraw my money and worked with their customer service people, got everything worked out. I was able to get through. And I'm pretty sure this bank probably does more transactions than Obamacare does. But that's another story. So I was able to get through. But 2 days later, I got a letter from Adobe telling me that my account has been, or they had a compromise in the system. And so, I lost my card. So they were sending, I was getting a new one anyways from my bank, but they let me know. Got to ask yourself, companies have been doing this. That was the other thing that came shocking. And they actually asked the question. Hidden in the line, and we brought this issue up long before anybody else did, because I looked at the code, downloaded the code, used my HTML browser and stuff, because I was looking at it to break into it. I'll just be honest with you, and found out that hidden in a div tag within the HTML code, div tag, tell you about that. Well, actually, I did tell you about it at the show when I was doing it, so you have to kind of find. I can't remember what show. They had in there that by using the system, you had no right to privacy, no expectancy to privacy. It's right there in their code. They actually asked that question. The panel did. Who put the code in there? And it finally came out. It was CMS. CMS put the code in there. CMS put the code in there. That's what came out of that conversation. So that was a pretty interesting debate. But like I said, is that if you're out there and you're representing me, at least get the facts straight so you can make a valid argument instead of looking like as they would say in the computer, a noob, because that's what they look like. They look like a noob. They look like they were just spouting off stuff that they've heard and not actually understanding the argument that they were trying to make. So if you're a politician or a politician, have them contact the Midnight Patriot, because I can give them the terminology and I can tell them exactly where they need to look into the code. Tell you exactly where they need to look into the code. I've dissected their code, and yes, one of my many talents was building systems such as this. So I do know what I talk of there. So, in a nutshell, that was the hearing. That was a hearing. Raised a lot of concerns. I have to believe with Consumer Reports. I wouldn't sign up for the system personally. Now on two fronts. Number one, it's not secure. There's no way it can be secure because the fact of the matter is it's a running beta. Remember Google when they came out, it said beta forever for several years. It's a running beta. So I would question it for that. Number two, I wouldn't use it because it's a honeypot. It's a way of them gathering information, and I'm sure they're going to use it. It's going to come out. Mark my words. Those that have signed up will be getting knocks on the doors or mail or something of that nature, which is complete contradiction to what the president said would happen. So you got to, just be leery. So that's what came out of the meetings. Now, with that, it's amazing. It's amazing. With that revelation that I just shared with you, I started to do a little bit of digging because I'm like, this doesn't smell right. It's kind of like Ted Cruz, as we announced yesterday. Ted Cruz's wife is the vice president of Goldman Sachs. We are looking at transactions that happened during the shutdown to see if any of Goldman Sachs or any of their subsidiaries were shorting any stocks or equities during that time. That benefited because even though there was a shutdown, there on the equity markets, there were people that were making money from it. They were shorting. They were betting on certain stocks to go down. So you got to ask yourself. And this is a guy that, and I know Ted Cruz is considered a darling of the Tea Parties. But in reality of it, this is a guy that has shown you that he can be somewhat deceitful. And not on, statements or anything. Look at his financial disclosures that he's legally obligated to disclose. He forgot to tell, I forgot to tell you I had a $100,000 investment in the Caymans. So you got to ask yourself, is this guy going to be someone that's actually going to be truthful with the American people? We reported on that yesterday. Google it. Put it in the Googler, as they would say. So, got to ask yourself. Got to ask yourself. So today I started doing a little bit of digging. And it's amazing what we were able to uncover. It's kind of crazy. Wasn't that hard either. That's what was really, really amazing. I don't know. It's, nothing happens out of coincidence. Everything is set up and determined through actions and, as you move through life. Now, we talked about this yesterday, and I'm going to go into a little bit deeper to give you some clarity on Michelle Obama's position and accusations of her sitting up when she was at Cook General in Cook County, Illinois, Chicago, for those that don't know. So she, this is an individual. Michelle Obama has history in the medical industry. She's not a neophyte to this. She actually has history. She sat on the board of directors of and actually had issues. And we'll talk about that in a second. But this is the key here. You can't tell me that there wasn't conversations going on here. Because, that was the other thing that came out of the hearings. They said it was a bid contract. That the contracts were awarded through a bid process. Well, the news and the GAO is all saying that it was a no-bid contract. So, who's lying? Who just lied to Congress, to a hearing, not a Senate, but a congressional hearing? So, we'll research that down. But, so you got to ask yourself, Jeff, where are you going with this? Well, it's pretty easy. Michelle Obama's Princeton classmate, for all those that don't know, is an executive at the company that built the Obamacare website. Yeah. First Lady Michelle Obama's Princeton classmate is a top executive at the company that earned the contract to build the failed Obamacare website. Tony Towns Whitley, Princeton class of 1985, is senior vice president of CGI Federal, which earned the no-bid contract to build the $678 million Obamacare enrollment website at healthcare.gov. Yeah. Now I understand that people have associations, right? But you got to ask yourself, a no bid contract with a group of individuals, you got to remember, I've seen Chicago politics. I know how it works, firsthand. Not as a politician, but as a person that was providing services to government agencies. That's right. In a former life, that's what Jeff Norton did. Yeah. And I saw it firsthand. And it's one of these things that, you got to pay to play. So you got to ask yourself, in Chicago politics, I mean, it's politics like that all over, but Chicago, they're the masters of it. Mayor Daley, Dick Mell, alderman, father-in-law to convicted governor Rob Blagojevich. Those guys learned how to do their scheming and scamming long before any news media in the outside world. We all know, it's part of Chicago. This is the way it works. So nothing happens in a vacuum or a bubble. So with this no bid contract, I can understand they went through a contract process and everything like that, but with a no bid contract, you can't tell me that there were some conversations. It just doesn't happen that way. And I'm sure that will eventually come out as well. But yeah. Michelle Obama's Princeton classmate, friend, was vice president of CGI, federal. So, once again, it's an administration that likes to put people around them that are very loyal to them as individuals and not to the country. So, got to question that. And we mentioned this yesterday, so we're going to do some more research on that, obviously. So that's going in my little got to do some research. Now, yesterday we talked about with Cook County and everything. For a lot of you people to know is that, Michelle Obama is not new to the healthcare industry. Not at all. When Senator Barack Obama was a senator, Michelle Obama, now First Lady, was vice president of a program at Cook County Hospital here in Chicago, Illinois. Her duties were to offer legal advice or advice on certain practices that the hospital was doing. And for that, she was getting paid. So you guys understand, a lot of people, this was not a charity thing. She was getting paid $317,000 a year as the vice president. So it wasn't, the University of Chicago Medical Center. So it wasn't like she was a advisor. She was vice president. Now the accusation was basically they were patient dumping. So those that don't know, so here is an administration on the face that says we care about you and your health care, right? On the face of it. But they have a history when they were involved in healthcare of doing one of the most egregious acts that a hospital could ever do. And that's the patient dump. For those that don't know what patient dumping is when I come to a hospital and the hospital deems that hospitals are required by law not to turn you away when you come to see them for treatment. It's a federal law. It's also part of when they take the Hippocratic oath, a doctor promises that he will give X amount of percentage of his time to charity. And so typically hospitals set up these charity organizations to help the doctors meet those obligations or those commitments when they take their oath. Right? But no, in Michelle Obama's case, when she was vice president of the University of Chicago, she employed a program, oversaw, I don't think she drove the van. She oversaw it. She knew what was going on. And I'm sure she probably gave the legal advice. You got to remember, she was a lawyer. Oh, was. She had to give up her law license, along with the president as well. They didn't give it up for the normal reasons because they didn't want to do the continuing education. They weren't practicing law anymore. They were actually, it was, of course, like everything else around this president, it was sealed. No one could talk about it. But they had to give up their law license. You can look that up, do that research. And some will say some of it had to do with this right here for Michelle. Patient dumping. So when you go into the hospital and they deem that you don't have insurance to pay, and because these hospitals are already overwhelmed with the debt of uninsured individuals, right? People that they don't have. But that's a whole nother topic. The reason why these people are uninsured is because they're generational dependent upon the government to provide for them. Instead of the government teaching them how to fish, they just give them fish. But the problem is that eventually the fish run out. And these people need bread, right? They can't get it. And so instead of giving them bread, because the government can't give them the bread anymore, they send them down the street. They put them in buses. They send them somewhere else. It's kind of like what they do at patient dumping. Patient shows up, hospital deems that they can't pay. What do? They put them on a bus or another ambulance. And this is the dubious part. They don't even put them on an ambulance and take them. They buy them a cab or whatever. Give them bus fare, cab fare. And they tell them to go to the more affluent neighborhoods because they know that the doctors there can't turn them away legally. So these hospitals up in Northbrook, Highland Park, those areas, more affluent hospitals who have the resources because they typically service individuals who do have health care, who go to work and aren't generationally dependent upon the government. And so they send them up there. Yeah. Michelle Obama. Yeah. She had to give up her $317,000 a year job. She's on unpaid leave because she was under investigation for doing this. Now, of course, like all investigations, especially when you're a senator's wife and you have the machine behind you, you just slap on their wrist and you give up your law license and you move on. So this is not an administration that's completely void of healthcare related issues, for those that don't know. Now, this isn't really discussed outside of Chicago. It's not. It's kind of like a little dirty family secret. But just letting you know. So it's funny. I sit there and I listen to this administration talk about how they care about us and stuff. They don't. What they're trying to do is they're trying to, obviously, like I said, you have generational dependency on the government, and the money's running out. It's obvious the money's running out. So the government, instead of dealing, and I actually talked about this earlier today on a nationally syndicated show. And basically what I was talking about on that show as a guest is the fact that you have individuals who are in the lower rung, lower tier, those generational dependent people on government assistance. And then you have the middle class. And what our government has figured out, now the upper class is going to do whatever trust me, they're going to get Cadillac insurance. They'll go wherever they need to go to get it. So the lower class, that's actually the class of people that our government's scared of. Look at the $80 million that they just spent that they're deploying these rapid deployment Homeland Security organizations or rapid deployment groups out. They spent $80 million on a private police force. Plus, they're bringing in independent contractors because our government's concerned on November 1st when they cut $36. $36 are cutting from their welfare checks and cuts. The government's concerned, so they're moving these rapid deployment police forces out there. Yeah, it's happening. Atlanta, different areas. Now, we talked about the EBT system going down. I think that was just to see where they were going to have issues the most uprising. So the government's scared of those individuals because when you depend upon the government and the government can no longer give them, they can't give them bread anymore. They got to, they can't give them fish, and they haven't taught them or forced them to learn how to make their own bread or fish their own, fish themselves. Those people tend to uprise pretty quick, and they tend to be very violent when they can't feed their families. So the whole Obamacare scheme, it's a scheme. It's a way, and because the government's broke. We're $17 trillion and counting. By February of next year, of coming up in a few months, we're going to estimate at the current burn rate. Forbes is saying that we're going to be $22 trillion. $22 trillion. This president has doubled the national debt since he's been out. Doubled it. So you can cry about Bush all you want to and the Republicans. The reality of it is this president has doubled the national debt, or will. And we're not getting any service for it. Poor still poor. Middle class is still struggling. Banks are still stealing from the people. Corporations are still, shipping their jobs overseas. That's the sad part. We're not even getting anything for it. But regardless. So as I was talking earlier today, is that, they had to come up with a scheme of taking the middle class and funneling income and money, because you also got to remember the middle class typically is a healthier part of the segment. There's numerous health studies out there that say that people in the middle class, higher education and everything, tend to live a better lifestyle. I'm not saying this, but other people have said this, is that if you look, we are the fattest poor country, and we got the fattest poor people in the world. Look at it. We really do. Very well fed. As my doctor would say, well nourished. Well nourished. So, this was a way of, Obamacare was a way of extracting money from individuals from the middle class and giving it to the poor, because the government basically couldn't do it. It's a Ponzi scheme. Pure socialist. And the thing is that the middle class, you saw it this weekend, or you saw it last week when the government shut down. We weren't violent. I mean, we were protesting, we were screaming, we were doing all the things, but we weren't violent. There was a report actually that was given out that Judge Napolitano today actually said that the government actually sent in those police officers that you saw with our vets, sent them in to arrest them. And the commander, God bless him, this is the case, said that these people weren't doing anything wrong, so we're not going to follow the order. That actually came out today. Judge Napolitano talked about it on his show. Because patriots typically are peaceful. We are. We're God-loving, God-fearing, but we love our God. And we're going to live by peace. We don't want war. We don't want fighting. It's not what we're about. We want peace. But don't kid yourself. When the time comes, we'll do what we have to do. But we're not going to do it at a drop of a hat, or the fact that we're going to lose $36 in money that we probably shouldn't be getting anyways. That's just the way we are. So that, there you go. That's Obamacare. And these guys have figured it out long ago. They had to come up with a scheme because, she's sitting on the board of directors and she's seeing all of these people that are coming in and they can't pay for health care. And on top of that, the government's not going to pay for them because they've expended their benefits and stuff. And so, out of her personal observations, I'm sure the conversation then came up is, well, we need to get them insurance. And the best way to get them insurance, we can't afford it, we can't add any more money to the debt. Well, they do it anyways. Is that maybe we'll get someone else to pay for it. And the way that we're going to get someone else to pay for it is through a tax. Through a tax. Called Obamacare. So, there you go. Oh, what webs we weave. But we're on to you, Mr. President, First Lady, this administration. We're on to you. You can hold all the hearings you want to. We know what's up. We know what we're up against. And as we had discussion yesterday and stuff, a lot of people are calling for the impeachment. You have a sitting president who probably shouldn't be there to begin with. He hasn't been impeached over that. America, I'm just going to say this, and I'll say it again. You're wasting your time if you think you can impeach this president. And I'm sorry, as much as I would like to impeach him, you can't do it because you just physically don't have the votes to do that. We just don't have the votes to do it. It just won't happen. So what you need to do is take that energy, and you need to start focusing that energy and that hatred and that love for your country and the anger that you feel in watching it being destroyed systematically by this administration. And you need to rise up other individuals that can replace these people. And I know that we looked at the darlings, the Ted Cruzes and, the Rand Pauls, but, as much as it breaks my heart, I don't think they have our back. It goes back to that conversation I made yesterday before I started the show, and it just came to me. I'm telling you, it's not talent on loan from God here. This is all, I get everything that comes out of me and stuff comes to me and is directed from God and is directed right to you. I believe that because it's just amazing how this information just appears. I don't have to go far for it. When I started to do this show, I committed to myself that I was going to, do a show and have no problem, well, actually it all came about of, God, what am I going to do now? I'm laid off, I'm on the downslope of the age. There's a lot younger, a lot more educated individuals out there in the marketplace that will work for a lot less because they're living out of their mom and dad's homes. What am I going to do? And, thinking about it and praying on it and concerned and keeping up at night, that lasted maybe literally one day. Very truthful story here. I was actually in Chicago. I was given my last paycheck and told that I'm on my own. Coming back, trying to figure out how I'm going to, pay my obligations that I have and everything. And, trying to start up another business or had another business that was dependent upon the income that I was making in Chicago and having to tell those individuals that I can no longer take my check when I was consulting and be able to make payroll. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it came to me. It literally came to me. And like I said, I know where it comes from. I know that this is not talent on loan from God. This is God giving me the talent. It's not on loan. He gave me the talent to do this, the ability, the skill, the technology and everything. I had that down, but I didn't know where to begin. But it's amazing how quick it came together for me. When I sit and I think about what I'm going to talk on the show, or when I write, when you guys read my blog postings on various sites and stuff, it comes easy. I don't have any formal training in this. I'm not a writer, but it comes easy. And I feel that the reason why it comes easy is because of I know where it comes from. And I don't have a problem telling you, this is from God. This is loaned to me. This is directly from him through me to you. So we exposed Obama. We exposed Michelle Obama as the frauds that they are. We're on to them. We're on to them. It doesn't take long for us to figure this out, or for me to figure it out and then give it to you. And I want to tell you, I know we're affecting change here, because most of the things I talk about within a day or so, you start showing up on the web. So it's actually kind of cool when I get emails from people that say, hey, I was listening to you last night and you said, did you not read the news today? They're talking about what you were talking about. Like I said, I'm kind of, the hand of God kind of drives me to this information so that I can share it with you. So that's the Obamacare thing. Now, I know we're kind of spinning down to the hour here. Got about 15 minutes left. I want to share something to you. This is one of the unintended consequences that you're not hearing about Obamacare. You know, we hear about our rates going up. We hear about doctors leaving the program or being booted out. We hear about the hundreds of thousands of people who are told that they have to go on to the exchange. There's no exchange that works. We all know, if you listen to the show, with the 120 million people that need to sign up on the exchange currently, it will take 3.6 years in order to do that. The Cerberus, the company, or Sarco, the company that is doing the paper versions, they have about 18,000. Out of the 18,000, they're only able to process about 3,000 paper forms. So that's not the answer. It's not going to work. The call center, when you call them, they redirect you to the website, which doesn't work. So we'll see. We'll see. Wow. It's crazy. But one of the unintended things that a lot of people haven't been talking about, and we're going to talk about it here. Typically, when you get employed, you know, we talked about this whole benefit package that you get as part of your, you know, come work for us. And part of that is long-term disability and life insurance. Most Americans get their life insurance through their companies. Typically, it's equal to your pay or a percentage of your pay. Well, with no longer getting health care, you no longer get that. So now you got to go on the market and you have to get your own life insurance. So you need to factor that into the cost of this Obamacare program. You have to go out there to do that. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when you go out there and, you know, there's obviously the Duck and those guys that do the long-term care, long-term disability insurance. That's gone too. So now you have to go out to, and you got to source that on the private market. Well, the problem is this. A lot of people will be, oh, that's fine. You can go out there and do it. Well, no, not really, because like all insurances, your rates are part of a pool. So you take the young and the old and the middle and the sick and the healthy, and they put them together and they actuate it out, and then they come up with the rate for your company. That's how they determine it. Well, now you're on your own as an individual. And under the Obamacare, you know, I know they say, well, no precondition, they can't deny you. That's for health insurance. But for life insurance and for long-term disability, absolutely, they can determine, they can deny you based upon pre-existing conditions. So if you're an older person that, you know, has been sick, diabetic, you know, obese, as most Americans are, by their definition, and stuff, high cholesterol, heart disease, CPAP, cancer, whatever. You know, maybe you're part of the American population that's over drugged with Prozac or psychotropic drugs, or, you know, whatever reason, you're going to lose those benefits. The long-term care, you're going to have to go out there and get them on your own. So when you get sick because you have a terminally ill disease or whatever, yeah, granted, you're going to get the insurance, maybe, who knows. But who's going to pay your mortgage? Who's going to make your house payment? Yeah, we forgot about that, didn't we? No, they didn't forget about it. They knew exactly what they were doing. It wasn't forgot about. You know. So now the insurance companies for a policy. So when you break it down, and I just did this. I was paying roughly, it was I did make the mistake, and I'll correct it. I was paying for my full bolt insurance. That was insurance for my family, for myself, 90%. I had to pay 10%. Very $25 deductible. I think total deductible is $2,500 or whatever it was. Include dental, eye. I had 3 times my salary for thing. I had 80% of my salary for long-term care, long-term disability. You know, I had all that. So I went out and I went shopping. All right, Patriots, let me tell you, I didn't go on there because it doesn't work. I actually went to an independent insurance site. You know, they had the calculator. So I based it on that, and I was paying $423 a paycheck every 2 weeks. That's what I was paying for that. So $800 a month. But I had a Cadillac plan, and that was pre-tax, by the way, pre-tax. I went out and sourced the same level of coverage through private providers. It was over $4,000 for me as an individual to get long-term care disability, to get the insurance, the health care insurance, all of that stuff. Yeah. So the hidden consequences of Obamacare go far deeper than what they're reporting out there. You know, the loss of those programs. And more importantly, the loss of jobs. People are losing their jobs all over the place because companies they're being downsized, you know, getting ready for the mandate. Or they're just, you know, getting rid of jobs. Getting rid of jobs because of the economic policies as well of this country. You know, we're $22 trillion in February. We're going to be $22 trillion, what Forbes is reporting by February. Doubled our national debt in a matter of 5 years. That's scary. And we all pay. We all pay. So, you know, we're talking with Prepper yesterday. Went to the grocery store. Soup that we used to get at 25 cents to 50 cents a can is now half the size, and it's $1.29. Eggs we were getting for 89 cents a dozen now are $2.39. Yeah. So we're paying. You know, bread that used to get for $1 a loaf, I think we're paying like $2 a loaf now. You know, we're paying. We're paying for this Obamacare program, and we're paying for the economic policies of this country. There's no doubt about it. You don't have to go far to see it. Don't have to go far. So those are the hidden costs of Obamacare that I promised we were going to talk about last night, and I didn't get to. So we kind of threw these in here. I also gave you a little bit of clarification on some of my research on Michelle Obama to kind of give you some insight of there. Like always, anything that we talk about here on the show, we actually source. So you can always join us on the web when we post the actual show. We're always a day behind in our posting because the show is up at the top part that you can listen to. But the following day, you'll be able to see the sources. So you can click on there and actually check our sources for every one of our shows. So you can actually go out and see this information for yourself and see where we've done our research. And then, you know, you can correct us if we're right or wrong. Now, in last night's, you know, we'll take the last 10 minutes here. Got 10 minutes, so I'll make this quick. Did a little bit more research on the whole Barry Soetano and all that. And I'm learning myself. And I want to make sure the information I give you, I'm not arrogant to say that I have all the answers. I got most of them, but not all of them. That was arrogant. Sorry, I apologize. But Barry Soetano, you know, his stepfather, the Barry Soetano name, Soetano came from his stepfather when his mother divorced his father. I want to say Osama bin Laden. President Obama. when his mother went back to Hawaii, she actually met a graduate student over there at the Hawaii University. His name was Barry Sutarno. They then remarried, and that's how he ended up in Indonesia. Now, a lot of people, once again, I did the research. I'm digging into this for you. A lot of people say, well, his father was an extreme Muslim. No, he wasn't. There's several documents of friends and family that say that he was not he was a Muslim. There's no doubt about it. He was a Sunni Muslim. I'm not going to argue that with you. He absolutely was a Muslim, his father. But he wasn't an extreme Muslim. They said he was actually more secular in nature, more very secular. Now, that might have changed as he got older, but then, of course, when, after President Obama, when as a young man, did fourth grade there at the school in Jakarta, he went to Christian school, Catholic school, and then went his fourth grade year went to the secular school, mixed of Muslims and Christians, because of his father, association, his stepfather being with the oil company there, had the money and had the political influence to be able to send his stepson there. Well, then when his mother moved back to Hawaii and everything, and then they, eventually got divorced in the 80s. I want to say about the 80s. They got divorced. But he was in Hawaii at that time. So it goes back to my whole argument that, a lot of people are like, well, he's a Muslim, that's why he hates Christians. And I don't see it yet. Help me see it. I don't see it yet with my research. What I do see, though, is his association with Maoists, socialists, and communists. And we all know through history that the one thing that stands in opposition of communism, socialism, and Maoists is religion. We know that. So, I still make the argument that his hatred for this country, his hatred for our forms of religion are derived from his socialistic, communistic, and Maoist ties and influences in his life. And we broke that down for you, gave you some of the names of those people that taught him. So I just want to share that with you. Now, we did do a little bit more research on his brother. Now, his brother, and we're still digging this out, his stepbrother, we're still digging it. We'll talk about it next Monday. His stepbrother, obviously, and is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. He belongs to different charitable organizations that give to those funds. And that, I believe that's where the ties are, where Obama, if I was president of the United States, I had a brother who was a Sunni Muslim, and I wanted to understand a little bit more about the goings on in the Middle East and stuff, I would probably reach out to my brother and say, can you recommend some people? Well, I'm sure the recommendations that were done were guys that were part of this organization, which his brother has ties to, which is the Muslim Brotherhood. And that's how they backdoor into our country. Now, that doesn't mean that, that Obama doesn't empathize with the Muslim religion, because he grew up around it. He did. Doesn't mean that he's not curious in his history or his lineage and everything, but I just don't see it. I think, like I said, the hatred for this country, religious aspects of this country, is derived from his communist, socialist, Maoist experience and backgrounds. I do see that correlation. Like I said, you can't be around these individuals that he has been associated with and grew up with and learned from and been mentored by, unless you take on some of their past or some of their teachings, and I think that's where it comes from. So, with that, I just want to say it's been a great week, phenomenal week for us here at the Midnight Patriot. Please help us get the word out. Tell your friends about us. Participate. If you're a business, help us out by advertising. We're not asking for anything free. We will work for that advertisement. Give you a good spot. Set up the banners. We'll show you the numbers and everything. But more importantly, get the word out. Tell your friends about us. Let them know that there's the Midnight Patriot out here, and we're here to give you a voice in the Patriot community, and also, to allow you to express yourself effectively, I want to say. Because, you know, it's one thing to sit on Facebook and post and do all the pictures and do all those things. And it's another thing to be able to speak about it and articulate, articulate your position versus just spewing out something that someone else said. Because when you do come here, you know, we're gonna engage in a conversation. We're just not gonna take your word for it. So, like always, I want to tell you, spend time with your family, with your loved ones. God bless you. God bless America. I hope that you spend some good quality time with your family this weekend. I know I will. And with that, we always end our show with Paul Harvey.
If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey. Good day.
myself overseas, just protecting the dreams that we had. And there's nothing more important than giving all I have to give. I'm fighting for the things that I believe. It's time to go, my country's calling me. Now go walking through that door, leaving with my head high. Set my country through this war, without coming back with life. When I got home after my tour was through, I couldn't wait to take her as my wife. I asked her father if he would approve, and he said, son, give her a happy life. I found myself overjoyed. She told me a baby boy was on the way. My face grew pale when I picked up the mail and saw my second Call of Duty game. I'm fighting for the things that I believe. It's time to go, my country's calling me. Now go walking through that door, leaving with my head high. Set my country through this war, without coming back with life. I love my family, but I'll serve my country, and I'll be the man that's loyal to those above me. But I'll fight harder, and I won't be martyred, and I'll make it home so all my children know me. When I go walking through that door, leaving with my head held high, I'll serve my country through